What if the hero was consumed by darkness and rose again?
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Bell Became the Emperor of Shadows movie. Before we start, please go support tenma-sama for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Bell is a male. Bellcranel, a 10-year-old boy, one day in his home village, has a unique encounter with a powerful being made of shadows. Prologue meeting. In a remote village. Far from the well-known labyrinthine city of Arario. There was a small boy with white hair and red eyes walking through the forest next to an old bearded man. They were Bellcranel and his grandfather, whom he had never asked his name, but that was of no importance to a 10-year-old boy like Bellcranel. Right now they were both in the woods walking together without any apparent concern, but you might ask yourself, what were an old man and his grandson doing in the woods? Well no, it's nothing indecent, damn sick god, they were in the woods because this morning the grandfather had seen something strange and dark in the woods outside the cabin where they both lived. The little boy named Bell had been confused when his grandfather had suddenly become very serious and had told him that they would go to the woods together. Bell was nervous, he had gone out into the woods before, but for some reason this time he felt as if something was watching him. No, not him, whatever it was watching his grandfather with resentment. Bell had been very sensitive to the emotions of others since he was a child, even if he couldn't see the person directly, and somehow he felt as if that thing was avoiding him, and to increase Bell's nervousness, his grandfather had a black scythe with which his grandfather, seeing his nervousness, gently took him by the shoulder and said to him. "Grandpa. Don't worry Bell," smiling, "that thing won't hurt you, it can't hurt children as pure and good as you," smiling. Bell had calmed down with his grandfather's words and gave him a smile in response as they continued to go deeper into the forest. With each passing second, the forest became darker and more terrifying. Finally they managed to hear a noise and both looked in that direction, finding a strange creature made of shadows. It was large and seemed to float. It looked like that creature from the dungeon that his grandfather had told him about, a warshadow, but this one seemed much more powerful than that monster. Bella grandpa, shaking. "Grandpa. Calm down Bell, he won't do anything to you, but I need you to go to the most illuminated place you can find and think about all the good things that have happened to you. I'll fight him, seriously." Bell. "Sure. Doubtful. Grandpa. I may be old, but not weak." Bell, "Go, I'll finish that thing off," smiling confidently. Bell didn't have time to respond when his grandfather swung his scythe and blocked the monster's claws with force while pushing Bell out of the way. "Grandpa ugh." Bell watched with a gleam in his eyes as his grandfather swung the black scythe and cut into the creature's chest, making it roar in pain. Bell could see out of the corner of his eye how a small, shiny silver necklace with a black jewel embedded in it fell from the creature's severed chest and literally fell at his feet. "Grandpa. Run, Bell. Seriously." Bell decided to trust his grandfather and took the silver necklace before running at high speed through the forest, looking for the most illuminated area he could. Unbeknownst to him, the necklace began to light up as he held it in the palm of his hand. Finally, Bell found the brightest spot he could and stood right in the center while he closed his eyes and remembered all the happy moments of his life. The necklace began to shine even more and more without Bell noticing. Seconds, minutes passed, and it seemed that the light around Bell grew brighter and brighter every second, just as the necklace seemed to light up, but it was fracturing. It was as if Bell's light and purity were damaging the necklace. Finally, when the necklace was at an extreme point and was about to break, something shouted to Bell. "Stop doing that." Bell was startled by the sudden scream and stopped what he was doing to look terrified at the owner of that voice. But Bell went blank when he saw a small figure a little bigger than his hand made of shadows. "Bell. A shadow. What do you mean, huh? Look how you left me." The small shadow pointed towards the necklace that Bell had in her hand. The necklace looked like it was about to break and had the black jewel horribly cracked. Bell the choir. "Shadow. Of course the idiot necklace. You better fix it or I'll die." Bell die. Now that Bell wasn't panicking and could see the creature well, he noticed several things about it. The small shadow had a shrill childish voice and was feminine, so it was the voice of a little girl, maybe a little younger than him, but it had no shape. It was like a small bowl made of shadows. It had no mouth, body, or eyes. Bell. Who are you?" Looking at the shadow in surprise. "Shadow. I am. Who am I?" Confused. Bell. "Don't you know who you are?" Confused. Shadow. "I know who I am. But because of you and because you cracked the crystal, you spread my power everywhere and left me with only a small fraction. It's lucky I can even talk." Bell couldn't see the little shadow's expressions, but he was more than sure that she was upset. Bell. "Can you at least tell me something about yourself that you remember?" Nervous. Shadow. Just a few things I remember, let's see, I used to be bigger and my voice was more intimidating. I was a beautiful woman with black hair and eyes, many people feared me and respected me, oh wait. I know who I am. I'm a spirit. I'm Shade, the spirit of shadows. Bell. Spirit. With a twinkle in his eyes, one of those incredible beings capable of using magic much better than elves. Impressed. Shade. Exactly. Happy, no, wait, don't get happy, you and I still have a score to settle. Bell. Shade. Yes. Like I said, I'm a being of shadows and nightmares. So much light and your purity infected me and made me wither. I don't remember who, but someone locked me in that crystal and used me as a source of power. But you broke it and unleashed my power everywhere. Annoyed. Bell. I'm sorry, lowering his head. Shade. I hope you take care of me from now on, kid. Bell. How to take care? Shade. Yes. I lost all my power, even a stupid goblin could hurt me now, so until I recover you will be my host. Bell. Your host. Confused. Shade. Yes, and you better take good care of me. If you do, I might give you a reward for taking care of me. Maybe I'll thank you with a partner contract. With that, you'll be able to control the shadows without my help. Shade's voice was confident, as if his power was the best of all, and Bell should be proud to possess it. Shade. Although the problem is your purity, ugh. Your soul is so clean that I have a hard time finding a stable connection with you. Bell Link. Still not understanding. Shade. I mean. Briar. Shade, damn. Bell, what not? Bell couldn't finish when Shade took a form out of nowhere. Her form was similar to his but feminine, and she also had skin even whiter than his, almost pale, as well as black eyes and hair. Shade. I did it. Smiling. Bell Shad. Began. Bell was interrupted when Shade returned to his shadow form and pierced his chest, disappearing into the. Bell. Surprised. Briar. Bell turned his head and looked scared as monsters made of shadows began to appear from the shadows, as black as the night itself and with red eyes that asked for blood. Bell. Monsters, scared. Shade. Don't be a coward now. Bell. Shade. Looking around, I don't see you, backing away. Shade. Of course not, idiot, I'm in your head, you can't see me, but we can talk. Bell. I understand, nodding, you said you were a spirit, right? Trembling. Shade. Yes, but. Bell. And you can't stop those things. Writhing. Shade. Wait a minute, I'm still working out some sync issues, Bell. What are those things? Sweating. Shade. They are normal monsters, but they are enhanced with my power. Bell. But why? Shade. I don't know, maybe because a genius broke the necklace that contained my power and released it everywhere and made some monsters absorb it. Bell. I'm sorry, lowering his head. Shade. That doesn't matter anymore, now we have to find a way to kill all those monsters, they are just goblins and kobolds, but they are too many, and with my power drained and your weakness, it is practically impossible to get out of here. Bell. Then, I'll die, trembling. Shade. We'll die, you mean, we're synchronized so we'll die together, and if I tire of the synchronization those monsters will eat me and absorb more power, and finally I'll die. Bell. Then there is no way out, shaking. Shade. I think there is a way, but after that I will have no power, so I will sleep inside you until I recover and can get in touch again, okay? Bell. Hi. Bell took a deep breath and calmed himself as much as he could as he watched the shadows gather around him. Bell. Shade. Looking at the shadows doubtfully. Shade. Wait a second, what the hell is this? Bell. What thing? Sweating. Shade. I wanted to summon a weapon made of shadows so you could fight, but what the hell is wrong with you? I can't find any weapons besides some old bearded man's kitchen knives. Is that why you're so innocent? What a load of crap. Bell. Sorry, lowering his head. Shade. Stop apologizing, it's annoying. Bell. Yeah, okay, I'll stop now, and can't you create a weapon without needing to see my memories and using something else like, I don't know, my imagination? Shade. It's not as easy as you think, and having so little power, something as advanced as creating a weapon with just imagination is extremely difficult. Hey, get angry or something, I don't know. Bell. Stop. Shade. I am Shade, the spirit of the shadows, I feed on the evil and hatred of people, the angrier you are the stronger I will be, capiche? Bell. Hi, I understand, seriously. Shade. Great. I found a weapon. And I love this type of weapon in general, are you ready? Bell. Whenever you want, seriously. The monsters were getting closer and closer to Bell and were more than ready to attack him. Shade. Extend your hand in front of you and imagine you are holding a stick. Monster Graya. At that moment the kobold headed towards him, opening his big dog-like snout and was about to bite Bell on the shoulder, if not for a black stick that stopped him. Bell opened his eyes slowly and looked with surprise at a large black scythe in his hand, identical to the one his grandfather had this morning when they entered the forest. Bell the scythe. Shade. Don't get distracted. Bell reacted as best he could and covered himself from the blow of a goblin. Bell. I don't know how to use this. Bell swung the large scythe from side to side in a completely inexpert and foolish manner. It was somewhat effective at first, killing 3 monsters in one slash, but as soon as the monsters got used to his silly moves, they easily counterattacked and pinned Bell against the ropes. Shade. Damn, do I have to do everything here? Ugh. Pay attention, I'm recovering some of my memories, and I'm an expert with the scythe. I'll send some movements to your mind that a novice could use easily. Bell? Huh. Why not more advanced moves? Dodging a blow. Shade. Are you an idiot? If you use moves like that as a beginner without even getting your body used to them, you'll kill yourself with one bad move. Now stop wasting time and finish them off. This time Bell watched as a kobold slowly approached him from behind, and with a quick vertical cut, he split it in two, leaving only its magic stone. Bell didn't waste any time there and started to swing the scythe over him, dismembering some goblins that had jumped out of the trees to attack him. Bell was stained with the blood of the goblins he had just dismembered, and while the adrenaline filled Bell, he cut and dismembered the shadow goblins. As soon as he killed them, they returned to normal and the shadows they had absorbed were automatically sucked away by Bell. Cut after cut, slaughter after slaughter, shadow after shadow. Bell attacked the monsters euphorically, while madness seemed to enter his eyes which slowly became darker and darker. But Bell's kind and bright soul seemed to resist being corrupted, and Bell began to regain control, acting more normal than a few seconds ago. Bell? Bell raised a scythe as high as he could and looked around the place. Scratches, bruises, and signs of cuts made by his scythe could be seen all over the place. Right in front of Bell was a normal shadow kobold who seemed to look at him with hatred. Bell was injured, even with the scythe and the abilities that Shade had given him, he was still a child, and they were monsters enhanced by the shadows. But that didn't matter to him now. Bell looked expressionlessly at the kobold that was slowly approaching him. I raised the scythe even higher, and just when it got close enough to the Bell I throw the scythe at it. As if it were a boomerang, the scythe continued to spin and glide towards the goblin, who watched in slow motion as the scythe spun at high speed towards him. Slash. The scythe decapitated the goblin with a clean cut and let his body and head slump to the floor before disappearing into shadows. Bell breathed heavily, looking at the place where the goblin had died. Then he looked at the scythe, and it was in the shadows, embedded in a tree. Or at least, it was before losing its shape and transforming into simple, normal shadows. Bell, we did it. Bell could only look into the distance at the figure of his grandfather, shouting worriedly at him as he slowly collapsed to the ground, exhausted. Learning about Shade. Bell, waking up, what happened? Looking around. Bell noticed that he was in a bed, he had some bandages on his body, and his whole body was burning. Bell. It hurts, mumbling. Shade. You finally woke up, you already had me worried, I even woke up before you. Bell Shade. Shaking his head. Shade. Same, it's good that you wake up, go eat, I'm starving. Bell. Why yes. Bell got up from his bed as best he could and started walking towards his bedroom door, but before he could open the door, it was opened by his grandfather. Grandpa. Bell. You're awake, smiling. Bell. Grandpa. Smiling. Grandpa. I was very worried when I saw you so hurt, hugging him, what happened? Looking at him worriedly. Bell. Well, the truth is that. Shade. Don't tell him about the necklace, much less about me. Bell. Some strange monsters appeared out of nowhere, one was carrying a strange black scythe, but it seemed very heavy so he tripped. I managed to grab the weapon and finished off some of them, but then the light increased, and when they tried to take a step towards me, they began to fade away, looking at his grandfather. Grandpa. Just that, looking at him. Bell high, looking into his eyes. They both looked into each other's eyes for several seconds, and his grandfather smiled. Grandpa. Okay, so let's celebrate that you were able to kill some of them, right? Smiling. Bell. Yes. Smiling happily. While her grandfather was preparing dinner, Bell sat at the dining room table, wondering how she had lied so much. Bell. What happened? Confused. Shade. Yeah well, I was bored and I looked at your thoughts, it doesn't surprise me that you're someone so pure, the truth is, I noticed that you're a terrible liar, so I changed that, calm down. Bell. Did you change? Confused. Shade. Yes, well, you are my carrier, but you are so pure that we are both harming each other, I infect you with evil, and you infect me with purity, we are both like each other's poison. Bell. So it's not a bad thing that we're still in sync. Worried. Shade, at first it was, but I managed to find a way to maintain your innocence and purity and be with you without hurting each other, taking advantage of the fact that you were unconscious. I modified some things in you, physical I can't, but psychological yes, now you will be less fearful and nervous, although I did not eliminate the features completely I did reduce them. L. Is that why I was able to lie to Grandpa? Shade. Don't you get tired of being a questioner? Anyway, answering your question, no, it wasn't because I reduced those features, I already told you, I am Shade, incarnation of the shadows, among my skills is being a good liar, an example is how you just lied to that old man. L. I didn't like lying to Grandpa. Shade. Ugh, I'm already regretting linking up with you, never mind, go eat quickly, and don't forget that you can't tell that old man about me. L. Yes, whispering. Shade what a good dinner, rubbing his stomach. L. But you didn't have dinner, confused. Shade. No, but if you recover energy I will too, there are many things I must explain to you about our bond, bored. L. Thanks and why are you outside? Curious. Shade. Boring. L. I see, and I'm Droplet. Shade. What's wrong? Every time you look at me, you do it in an uncomfortable way. Looking at him. L. It's just that it's weird looking at my dark female version, scratching the back of his neck. Shade. How rude, looking away, it's not that I like using this form either, it's only a matter of time until my memories return and I take my original physical form. Shade began to walk around Bell's room while looking bored at everything in it. Shade. This is pretty boring, a bed, a wardrobe, a shelf full of books about hero stories. PFF haha, covering his mouth. L. Don't laugh. Frowning. Shade. Okay, calm down. Being a hero, huh? It's a somewhat childish dream. Looking at him. L. I'm sure you dreamed of being one too, frowning. Shade. I won't deny that, there were even heroes for the spirits like Jupiter or the wind spirit Arya, but look at me, pointing to himself, a being of shadows, can never be a hero, I'm not like my sister Lix, crossing her arms. L. Sister? Surprised. Shade. Yes, an innocent and kind fool, she is a spirit of light, the complete opposite of me, snorting, although I haven't seen her for several decades, maybe a little more than a century, thoughtful, anyway, now let's get to the important thing, it would be. L. What thing? Curious. Shade. Simple, training, smiling. L.A. L. Sure I can. Sweating. Grandpa. Sure, just don't go too far or you'll get lost in the forest, smiling. L. But are you completely sure? I mean, a few days ago a strange and ugly creature made of shadows attacked us, doubtful. Shade. Hey. Grandpa. You have nothing to worry about, Bell. That creature is already gone. Your brilliant grandfather finished it off. Smiling confidently. Besides, he didn't have that necklace, so there's no danger anymore. Whispering the last part. Shade. Alert. L. Great. Smiling, thanks Grandpa. Elle ran out of the cabin into the woods and when they were a long way from the cabin, Shade spoke. Shade. Never tell that old man about me. Elle. Huh. He already said he wouldn't do it, but why are you saying it again out of nowhere? Shade. I have a feeling if he sees me he won't like me very much anyway, that doesn't matter now, head to the same spot as yesterday where we slaughtered those monsters. Elle. Where is that? Shade. Ugh. Elle. Ah. Dodging a cut. Shade. What are you doing? Attack. Annoyed. L. It's not as easy as you think. Dodging another slash. Shade. Of course it is, besides you already faced a large group of monsters and you finished them off. Ugh. What was going on? Simple, right now Bell was at the same point as yesterday where he fought against a horde of shadow monsters, yesterday he had finished them all, so what was he fighting now? Well, against shadows, not enhanced monsters, but shadows in the form of monsters that Shade controlled, they couldn't touch him physically, or so Bell thought, but even so, Shade told him to dodge and attack, as if his life depended on it, and that's what he was doing. Shade. Stop running away and start fighting, look at them carefully, notice their actions, no matter how small they are, looking at him. Bell listened to Shade's advice and decided to follow it, soon he managed to deflect a blow from a goblin and cut it in half, as if it were a twig. Bell. I did it. Raising his arms. Bell didn't even have time to celebrate when a goblin next to him threw a punch straight at his face. Bell blinked his eyes waiting for the blow that never came. When he opened his eyes the monster was in front of him, he was surprised that the monster's fist was passing through his face. Shade. Well, get better, even if it's just a little, smiling. Bell. Why yeah, I guess so, scratching his cheek. Shade. Okay. Let's continue, smiling. Bella, sighing. And that's how the training of a rabbit began. End. Arario the Labyrinth City. Bell. Look, there it is. Smiling. Shade. Yes, I've already seen it, boring, I hope that labyrinthine city is more interesting than that boring town, snorting. It had been 4 years since they met. Bell had turned 14 a few weeks ago, and while that was good news there was also bad news. His grandfather, the man who raised him, had died days after his birthday after falling off a cliff. No one could go and save him because the place was full of monsters. Bell wanted to go save him, he believed that with his training, he might be able to save his grandfather. But Shade brought him back to the sad reality. 1. Even if he went and managed to pass through that horde of monsters, his grandfather was probably already dead, and 2. Even with his training he was not capable of defeating some of the monsters that were down there, and worse still, he would die quickly fighting against that entire horde. Bell knew his grandfather was stronger than him, hell, Shade even said he saw him kill a minotaur with one hand when he secretly followed him deep into the forest. If his grandfather died down there from monsters from the 1st to the 5th floor, he didn't even stand a chance. Bell had been depressed for days thanks to his loss, and although Shade was happy to gather more energy thanks to Bell's negative feelings, it hurt to see his friend like that. He had grown fond of him these past 4 years, despite being absurdly innocent, something she hated. She had searched the cabin for something that would cheer up her companion and found a diary of Bell's grandfather. Shade gave it to her and luckily it worked, she didn't know that Bell had read it, but the next morning she looked much better. He apologized to her for having been like that for days and asked if she was willing to travel to Arario with him. Shade didn't know where that idea had come from, but damn. How could he refuse? He had always wanted to go and see the city full of adventurers and monsters that he could kill. The only problem would be the greedy gods who would definitely want to take possession of it or Bell, as they were its bearers. But she wouldn't let them capture her, neither her nor Bell. She was one of the few people who, despite knowing what she was, had not rejected or discriminated against her. What did she mean by this? Simple, spirits for many years were known as beings of great magical power, far superior to that of the elves. They were also like the representation of balance. All spirits were equal, but 2, light and darkness. Spirit of light was always known as purity and good, and spirit of darkness, known by all as impurity and evil, 2 opposite faces supposedly. That is why even those of her kind stayed away from her. They do not discriminate against her, but it is not as if she was very loved. Unlike her sister, who instantly considered her innocent and kind, they did not even take the time to get to know either of them, they simply deduced what they would be like. Bell cared little about that, and unlike the others showed interest in getting to know her and being her friend, again something very noble, and on that occasion, Shade did not hate her purity, he was truly pure, he was not like the farce of his sister. Something that had changed in these 4 years was his appearance, he had recovered a large part of his memories, and among them was his original appearance. Well, that wasn't exactly her original appearance, as she had said before, she had lost so much power that she had literally become a child again, although now she had the appearance of a teenager. She wondered if Bell found her attractive. Oh, and speaking of the rabbit. Bell. It's amazing, with a sparkle in his eyes. Shade almost forgot where they were in a wooden carriage heading towards the clock where Bell could fulfill his dream. Shade. Do you still want to be a hero? PFFF, covering his mouth, you're still childish, smirking. Bell. Heroes are great, they protect people and are capable of facing everything, they give security, I want to be like them, with a sparkle in his eyes. Shade. You don't change, huh, whispering, you're very childish, that's adorable, approaching Bell. Bell. Huh? Shade. Curious. Bell was lying down, so he was surprised when out of nowhere Shade leaned on his chest, ignoring his extreme embarrassment. Bell. What are you doing, blushing? Shade. Isn't it obvious? I'm going to rest a little before we get to the clock, closing her eyes, I'll be in your care, don't do anything inappropriate with me, smiling flirtatiously. Bell. I am proper. Blushing. Shade. Tee-hee, smiling slightly. Bell. Shade. Embarrassed. Bell. Wow, the walls are huge, surprised. Shade. React, you fool, they're calling us. Bell. Ah. Sorry. Bell walked towards a guard who asked him to come closer to him for a search. Guard. Name. Sirius. Bell. Bellcranel, sir. Guard. Reason for entry. Bell. Be an adventurer. Guard. Age. Bell. 14 years old. Guard. You're very young, but you're old enough to come to the Arario on your own. My colleagues are searching your luggage, if they don't find anything suspicious you can go pick up your backpack and leave, crossing his arms. Bell. Thank you, smiling. Bell walked towards a guard who was checking his things, they examined them, and after a few minutes they gave him his backpack and let him pass. Bell. Sniff, sniffing the air, the air of Arario, smiling. Shade. It's the same silly air. Bell. Now I must go find the guild, ignoring Shade. Shade. We should first look for a family, as you need a family to go to the dungeon. L. Then I'll look for a family where? Shade. Ah, sighing, we better go to the guild, there maybe we'll find a family that is recruiting new members, and before you say where is the guild. Go with someone and ask them to help you. LH High, whispering. Bell walked through the streets of Arario, looking amazed at all the stalls there were, latent walking here and there without any worries, and the little children running happily. Bell smiled at the happy atmosphere, an atmosphere that quickly changed when he passed by an alley and heard a small scream. Don't let him escape. Bell looked into the alley and quickly saw a god being chased or goddess. She was red-haired, eyes closed, revealing outfit if she had something to reveal, average height and a non-existent chest. Bell could tell he was a god by the small divine aura all gods possessed. The red-haired goddess was being chased by two adventurers from the Sama family who seemed to want to kidnap her. Shade. It's your problem, don't involve us, pay attention to me. Bell hadn't heard Shade and quickly created a shadow scythe to block the knife attack that one of the adventurers gave, he seemed tired of trying to kidnap the goddess. The surprise in everyone's eyes was evident, Shade sighed as he looked at the scene Bell had just made, even worse, the guys in front of them were adventurers, he didn't know what level, but most likely level 1, he didn't feel great power emanating from them, but they had a blessing, and the difference between a person with a blessing and a person without one was abysmal, Bell had to be extremely careful when fighting. And Bell knew that too. Bell used all the strength he had to take the knife from him and throw it away. Adventurer. Damn kid. Annoyed. The adventurer didn't even think twice when he tried to hit Bell, who dodged it with relative ease. He was going to hit the adventurer with the lower end of his scythe to knock him out, but a sword stopped him, it was the other adventurer who looked very upset. Adventurer 2. You'll pay for this, damn it. Adventurer number 2 XD attacked Bell with force, even though Bell was able to protect himself by covering himself with the scythe, he had to kneel down because of the strength of the adventurer, he knew he couldn't defeat him, so he came up with a better idea. Bell goodbye. Bell threw the scythe at him as if it were nothing, and the adventurer prepared to deflect it with a smile of victory, but I don't know what I expected it to explode into shadows blocking his view. Adventurer 2 looking around. The adventurer looked for Bell with his eyes, but it was useless, he didn't see him anywhere, the shadows that hid his face gave him enough time to escape. Adventurer. It doesn't matter, dusting himself, either way I'll leave you here, abandoned Loki-sama, mockingly, now we'll give your family notice that if they don't pay a large sum of valis you're going to. Turning around, and the goddess Loki. Punch. The subject was sent flying when a fist slammed into his face extremely hard. Where the subject had been before, there was now a beast man adventurer with black hair and eyes. Aki. Damn, Loki got drunk again and disappeared, the captain left me in charge while the others are on the expedition, Loki, Finn left me in your care, so please don't make things too complicated for me, looking everywhere, and Loki. Poker face, hey you. Pointing at an adventurer. The adventurer that Bell had hit before looked scared at Aki and responded immediately. Adventurer H high. Scared. Aki. Where is it? Serious. Adventurer. I don't know, raising his hands. Aki. Sharpening her gaze. Aki approached the adventurer and abruptly put a foot next to his head, scaring the poor adventurer. Adventurers. I swear I don't know, raising his arms, please don't hurt me, crying. Aki. Thoughtful, you're telling the truth, muttering, fine, I won't kick you in the face because I think you're telling me the truth, rubbing her head. Adventurers. Ian Sirio. Relieved. Aki. Yes, but you have to sleep, kicking him in the neck. Adventurer ugh, falling faint. Aki. Where has he gone now? Sighing. Shade. I've told you 1,000 times not to get involved where you don't belong. L. I couldn't leave her there. Those adventurers could have done something to her. Shade. So? That's not our problem, besides we don't even know what kind of god she is. L. That doesn't matter, I have to go and leave her with her family, they must be worried. Elsewhere. Finn. Why do I have a feeling Loki is doing something stupid? Thoughtful. Riveria. Is it because he always does something stupid? Looking at him. Finn. Right, nodding, oh by the way, tell everyone to get ready, we're going back to the surface, holding his spear. Riveria. Understood, Captain, nodding her head. L. Is she asleep? Surprised, but she was awake when I rescued her in the alley. Sighing, it doesn't matter, I think it would be really weird if a guy came out of nowhere with a sleeping goddess in his arms, so I'd better wait for her to wake up and take her to her family. Bell didn't want to attract attention by carrying a goddess on his back, so he went into an alley and started walking down it until he came to an area where there were destroyed and collapsed houses. Bell continued walking until he looked curiously at a small, destroyed church and entered hoping to find no one there. To his surprise, it seemed that someone lived there, because a little further down there was a room with a wardrobe, a bed, a kitchen, a sofa and a small table. Bell didn't know who it was, but he thought it was a good idea to leave the goddess in bed and he did. Bell sat down on the large sofa and sighed, it was not comfortable at all. He looked more closely at the place and wondered who could live in such poor conditions. Bell. Well, I practically broke into this person's house and used his bed and sat on his couch without permission. I guess I could do something to make it up to him, looking at a broom and a rag. Shade. What? No, don't think about that, you're not going to. Bell and Shade outside their body were cleaning the room waiting for Loki to wake up. Bell hummed quietly as he swept and Shade she cleaned the table and some furniture with a grumpy face. Shade. Damned Bell, muttering, wearing a cute face while pleading is cheating. Looking at him annoyed. Bell. Don't you want to clean with me? Making a sad face. Shade. And no, it's not that, moving her hands nervously, of course I want to clean with you, smiling slightly. Bell. I see, then I hope to count on you, feeling innocent. Shade A. Blinking, shit, grumbling. Loki hum. Waking up. Shade. Free me. Running towards Bell. Bell sighed and let Shade get back inside him. When Shade hid inside him he looked at the goddess who already seemed to be waking up. Loki. What happened? Curious. Bell. Oh hello, scratching the back of his neck. Loki. Looking at him, oh, a giant rabbit, smiling. Bell. I'm not a rabbit, hanging his head depressed. Loki. Looking around, this place looks like a dump, is it your home? Raising an eyebrow. Bell. Huh. And no, it isn't, and I'm Droplet. Loki. I see, that makes sense, such a cute kid can't live here, smiling. Bell A. Blushing. Loki. Okay, let's stop joking, what am I doing here? Seriously. Bell proceeded to tell her everything that had happened, hoping that the goddess would believe him. Loki. I see, processing the information. Bell. Huh. You believe me? Curious. Loki. Kid, I don't know if you knew, but you can't lie to a god, smiling through his teeth. Bell. Oh really? Surprised. Shade. I told you before. Bell. Sorry, I forgot. Loki. And tell me, child, do you know who I am? Loki's smile grew and he puffed out his chest with pride as if expecting a positive response. Bell. Huh. Not at all, shaking his head. Loki's smile diminished, deflated, and looked at Bell as if he were an idiot. Loki. I am the goddess Loki, looking at him. Bell. Looking at her. Loki. The goddess of family kills giants, looking at Bell. Bell. Shaking his head. Loki. You really don't know who I am. Looking at him. Bell. Huh. No, sorry, bowing slightly, I just got to Arario a few hours ago, smiling nervously. Loki. Don't you have a family? Looking at him. Bell. No, scratching his cheek. Loki. Thoughtful. Bell. Looking through a small window at the sun. Loki. How are you? Bell. Sorry, I have to go. Scratching his neck, I don't have an in yet and I couldn't even go to the guild. It was a pleasure talking with you, Loki-sama, smiling. Loki didn't even look at Bell saying goodbye to her and leaving the church. Loki. Let me finish speaking, sighing, at least Loki-sama told me, not even my own children call me that, smiling, well now I also have to leave here before the owner of this house arrives, getting out of bed. Bell. Thank you very much, smiling. Man. Don't worry, remember that the night costs 3,500 valis, looking at Bell. Bell. Why yes, thank you, taking the key to his room. Bell went to his room and inspected it. It was a simple room, it had a small closet, a bed for one person, there was a window and an unlit candle that he could light. Bell went to the bed and sat on it, reading a map he bought on the way. Bell. Let's see, there are many areas here, 4 districts, Adventurer District, Love District, Blushing, Game District, and Red Light District. Confused. Shade. Don't you even think about going to that place. L.A. Okay, strange, we are in the Adventurer District, this is where most of the families check, there are several food stalls, restaurants and bars, places to sell armor, hospitals, etc. Here it is, the guild, pointing at a place on the map, is not far from this inn, smiling, well, I guess I can go tomorrow, going to bed, for now I'll go to sleep, closing his eyes. Hee. L.A. Opening his eyes. Bell was surprised by Shade when he came out of nowhere and lay down next to him, ignoring any complaints from Bell. Shade. Now, let's go to sleep, closing his eyes. Bell. Gosh, sighing, at least let me know, hugging her. Shade A. Blushing, W what are you doing? Looking at him. Bell Z, asleep. Shade. How fast? In shock. And. That's how the cap ends v. The time skip is really bucking awesome, right? It's just that I was bored writing about Bell training XD, anyway it wasn't going to improve his strength much, I would just give him a little preparation, leave your star and your comment if you liked it, well without anything else to say. Extra. A small and adorable goddess with loose hair walked through a place where the houses were completely destroyed and uninhabited, she entered an abandoned church calmly and went to the room where she had her bed and her things. Hestia. Huh. What happened here? Confused. The place was spotless, it looked clean, and things were well put away and tidy. Hestia didn't remember having tidied up, scared she started to inspect the house looking for something that had disappeared, but nothing was out of place. Well yes, but not like that. Hestia. How strange, sitting on her bed, who made the Quisiers, curious, maybe today wasn't a bad day after all, smiling. The small goddess of enormous proportions lay down on her humble bed ready to sleep while she remembered for a few seconds a white-haired boy she had seen in that alley. Hestia. Damn, I could have recruited him, but it seems he was already the son of that drunken board, pouting. And Loki. It was a beautiful day in Arario. And bellcranel was walking towards the guild where he could register as an adventurer. Bell's happiness could be seen from miles away. It only took a few more minutes for Bell to reach the guild, where he saw several adventurers walking back and forth, exchanging magic stones and people in formal suits serving them and walking back and forth. As Bell walked through the guild, a woman with brown hair and glasses called him. Hey, excuse me. L.A. Turning to see her, oh, hi, smiling. Ina. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Ina Tull. Is there anything I can help you with? Smiling kindly. L. I'd like to register as an adventurer, smiling. Ina. I see. Ina looked at her companions working and attending to their adventurers and knew that none of them had time to be an advisor to another adventurer. Ina. Fine, I'll be your advisor if you don't mind, smiling. L. Not at all, I hope to count on your help, bowing slightly. Ina. First you have to fill out a form with your information. Ina gave Bell a sheet with questions about him and a pen and asked him politely to answer it. Bell quickly answered the questions and gave the sheet to his advisor, who began to read it. Ina. Bellcranel, 14 years old, do you use scythe? Confused. L. He, scratching the back of his neck. Ina. You forgot to put what family you belong to, looking at him. L. About that. Shade. I told you to find a family first. L. Sorry, at least on my map I marked the places where I can find the headquarters of several families, smiling. Shade. I have a bad feeling. Days later. L was sitting in an alley looking at his map and crossing off the 46 family headquarters. L. 46 families rejected me in just 3 days, sighing. Shade. Damn greedy, stupid gods, rot them. L. Calm down, although there are several more families to try, thoughtful, it is not yet possible to try with large families, but if I was rejected by small families, I highly doubt that a prestigious family will accept me, sighing. Shade. What are the prestigious families? L. Let's see, Apollo family, Insect family, Hermes family, Ganesha family, Ishtar family, Freya family and Loki family. Shade. Let's try those later, first let's keep trying to join a smaller family, and it's better to do it quickly, because money is running out. L. The money will last us 2 more days, sighing. Shade. Then we'd better hurry. L. You have 2 more days later. L. How come 85% of the families rejected me during the school year? Depressed. Shade. 23 chose, 24 chose, 25 chose, 26 chose, we have 24 chose, Chibi. L. We're out of money, sighing, and I still don't have a family, what do we do? Looking at Shade. Shade. That half-elf had said something about people without blessings being able to go to the dungeon, but only to the 1st floor, right? Looking at Bell. Bell. Yes, but it will be extremely complicated, sighing. The money I will get on the 1st floor will be very little, and without a blessing, things will get even more complicated. Shade. It's our best option at the moment, shrugging, you and I know we can survive on floor 1 at least. Bell. Intent to Maslow. I need a blessing. That was what Bell thought after 7 hours on the 1st floor of the dungeon, he had grown tired and the monsters kept coming out to attack him. Fortunately, her scythe could easily cut her skin. The bad thing was that due to the small space it was difficult to move it inside the dungeon. Bell thanked his advisor who gave him hundreds of rules and advice. When he told her he would enter the 1st floor due to lack of money, she also gave him basic weapons and some guild knives. The weapons were garbage, but considering that he wasn't facing strong opponents, then they were more than enough. Bell stuck his knife into the neck of one of the goblins and killed him easily. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and picked up the magic stones that were on the floor. Bell. I learned the hard way that his shattered magic stone is worth next to nothing, but it's the most effective way to kill a monster, sheathing his knife. Shade. How long do you plan on doing this? L. I guess days until I find a family. Shade. Okay, but for now let's go back, exchange the magic stones and go to the. L smiled slightly at Shade's words and walked towards the surface, killing a few monsters along the way. L. How did you convince me to do this? Running. Shade. I don't know. L was on the third floor of the dungeon, escaping from some goblins that seemed to be stronger than those on the first floor. L stopped abruptly and took out his shadow scythe to stick it right into the monster's stomach, killing it. The other monsters growled at the loss of one of them and turned to Bell aggressively. L. I think that only made them angrier, sweating. Shade. You think so? Sarcastic. Bell threw his scythe and it pierced one of the kobolds that were chasing him. The scythe got stuck in the hallway because it was so big and caused the monsters to crash into it. Bell took advantage of this and took out his knife to cut their throats as they tried to pass. Bell. That was difficult, breathing heavily, you'd better go back to the first floor and don't tell Ina about this, if she finds out, trembling, it will be the end of me, trembling. Brr. Help. Shade. Don't even think about it, that scream came from the 5th floor at least, we're going to die there. You won't listen to me, right? L. I'm sorry, taking out another black scythe. Shade. Ha, sighing, don't apologize, but if we survive you're going to cuddle me for a week. L. Hi, running to floor 5. On the 5th floor there was a group of adventurers protecting as best they could one of their companions who had an injured leg. They were being attacked by no less than a minotaur, a level 2 monster with terrifying strength. Damn, we were testing out our new weapons and it was going great until that monster came. Covering himself with a shield. Now's not the time to curse, focus on protecting. Annoyed. The minotaur gave a roar of anger and punched the adventurer's stomach, destroying it completely and connecting a blow to the adventurer's stomach. Ugh. Spitting blood. Captain. The girl next to him brandished her sword in anger and attacked the minotaur with all the strength she could. Crash. His eyes filled with terror as his sword was easily destroyed as it connected with the monster's chest. In the distance you could see the silhouette of a white-haired boy with a black scythe approaching the group that was being attacked. The man who had been hit in the stomach looked at Bell for a second and was scared. White hair, a completely expressionless face and a black scythe in his right hand. The adventurer could swear he was seeing death itself slowly approaching him to claim his life. The minotaur had not yet noticed Bell's presence and raised a fist to strike the adventurer in front of him. He would have succeeded if not for a knife stuck in the minotaur's eye, making him scream in pain and fury. The two adventurers were surprised and looked at Bell who had thrown the knife. Bell quickly approached him and kicked the minotaur in the back, moving him away from the adventurers a little. Bell. Take your partner out of here, I'll buy you some time, seriously. Adventurer. But you. Bell. Go quickly, seriously. The black-haired man gulped and nodded. With the help of his brunette companion, they carried a red-haired girl behind her. Just at that moment Bell saw that they had the symbol of the Hostess family on their clothes. They looked like blacksmiths who wanted to test their new weapons for themselves. Bell looked at the minotaur who just then removed the knife from his eye and threw it to the floor in fury. Shade. Any plans? Bell. Yes, not I, serious. The minotaur lunged at Bell and launched a blow with his right hand to Bell's head. Bell kicked his head to the right, narrowly avoiding the blow, and with his scythe he tried to cut the minotaur's arm. But it was useless, his eyes widened as the scythe barely managed to cut a little of the monster's skin, not even able to draw some blood. The minotaur looked at Bell mockingly and tried to hit him in the chest. Bell covered himself with the scythe and felt his body shake with the contact of the punch. Bell couldn't react when the minotaur held his scythe tightly to prevent him from attacking him, and with his left hand, he dealt a powerful blow to his face. Ugh. Shade Bell. Bell fell to the ground dryly, spitting out a little blood and feeling as if his nose had been broken. Bell stayed there on the floor trying to stop the blood coming out of his nose, without realizing that the minotaur was approaching him. Shade. You're not going to touch it. The shadows from the 5th floor began to gather around Bell, transforming into shadow tentacles that headed to attack the minotaur. The tentacles prevented the minotaur from getting too close to Bell, but like the scythe, they were not able to cut his skin, but at least they were holding him back long enough for Bell to recover. Unfortunately it seemed that luck this time was not on Bell's side, because the minotaur passed through the tentacles and surprised Bell from behind, giving him a strong kick. Bell spat out more blood from the strong blow he received and looked at the minotaur with difficulty. Shade was already ready to leave Bell's body and save him if it weren't for the fact that she felt a familiar presence. Shade. This feeling impossible. Wake up Storm Ariel. Bell watched with wide eyes as the Minotaur was split in half by a strong gust of wind, and a lot of the monster's blood covered him, especially his face. But this was easily ignored by Bell, who was more focused on admiring the beauty of the woman in front of him, hair and eyes of a beautiful golden color, a body that could be said was perfect. Her expressionless gaze only made her look more unattainable than she already seemed to be. Bell almost thought she was a princess of I don't know, because of the sword she had in her hands. No wait, she was a princess, a swordsman princess. But Bell was taken out of his thoughts when a beautiful and angelic voice spoke to him. "Are you okay?" Bell couldn't have been happier at that moment. "In fact, I was so stunned that I spoke without thinking." "Bell. You are beautiful," blushing. The beautiful girl didn't know how to respond to his words, but she extended a hand towards him, trying to help him get up. Just then Bell.exe started working again, and her blush increased as she realized what he said. "Bell. Too, I'm sorry." Running. Aiz stood there, hand outstretched, still processing what had just happened. "Ha ha ha ha. He ran away from you, that tomato ran away from the sword princess, ha 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 ha." Aiz turned to see his companion, Betloga, laughing out loud at what he had just seen. Aiz just made a small pout, still not knowing why he had run away from her. Bet wasn't the only one laughing out loud. As Bell walked through the streets of Arario, ignoring the laughter of people seeing him stained with blood, he was in his mind ashamed while listening to Shade's constant laughter. "Shade. Ha 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 ha. You should have seen her face. The face she made when you ran away, holding her stomach." "Bell. Don't remind me," sighing, "that was embarrassing." Shade. "Haha, yes it was, now let's see Ina." Bell high, disheartened. Bell left the guild trembling. 3 hours. 3 hours of screaming and scolding from Ina, even Shade got scared. Shade. It's a monster. Trembling. Bell. "We need to get a family urgently," sighing. Shade. "Let's try the big families." Bell high grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr bar well known in the Arario by adventurers who used to frequent it a lot at night after a long and stressful day at work. Well, right now Bell was right at the entrance of this place, without knowing whether to enter or not, although it was dangerous he had to admit that being on the third floor helped his wallet. While Bell was wondering whether to enter or not, he was taken out of his thoughts when the door of the place opened and a beautiful grey-haired girl came out. "Sir, eh?" Looking at him curiously, "It's you." Pouting. Bell. "Huh? What?" Confused, "Have we met before?" Curious. "Sir. This morning. I talked to you, but you ignored me," crossing his arms. Bell. "Are really?" Surprised. Shade. "Oh, that's true, this morning while we were going to the dungeon that girl approached us to give us a magic stone or something like that, she spoke to you like 4 times, but we were talking and you didn't pay attention to her." Bell. Surprised, "I'm so sorry, miss. I was just so caught up in my thoughts," scratching his neck, "and it wasn't my intention to ignore you, sadly." "Sir, looking away." Bell. Do you think I should do something for you to make up for it?" Looking at her. Sir opened one eye and looked at him for several seconds before smiling as if nothing had happened and opening her arms. "Sir. An apology always comes with a hug." Smiling. Bell. Looking at her. "Sir. No. We're not that close yet, no, well anyway," lowering her arms, "what were you doing here?" Curious. Bell. "Yeah, I didn't know whether to go in and eat or not," scratching his cheek. "Sir. Well, the answer's obvious, right?" Smiling, "Of course you have to go in and eat. And spend a lot," winking at him. Bell. "Why yes, and I'm Droplet." "Sir. Come in," opening the door. Bell timidly entered the place and to his relief no one took him seriously, everyone was busy talking about their experiences and their daily life in the dungeon. "Sir. Fortunately for you, there's an empty spot you can go and sit down," smiling. Bell. "Thank you very much," smiling embarrassedly. Sir led Bell to the food counter where a supposed dwarf was serving. "Mamma mia. I've never seen you," looking at him. Bell. "I'm new to Arario, nice to meet you," smiling. "Mom. I see, well I hope you spend a lot tonight ha, smiling. At that moment Bell felt her wallet shake. Before he could see the menu someone sat down next to him surprising him. "Sir. Hello again," smiling, "we didn't introduce ourselves properly so I wanted to do it, nice to meet you, my name is Sir Flova," smiling at him. Bell. "A pleasure, I'm bellcranel," looking at her. "Sir. I assure you the food here is delicious. Prepare yourself because your wallet will be squeezed," smiling. Bell. "Sir, nothing," laughing a little. Shade. "It's terrifying, Bell." Sir told Bell to wait a few minutes and that the food would arrive soon, after that he went back to work as if nothing had happened. Bell. "I'm not sorted yet," confused. "My mom." No, but your food is ready. The dwarf put a large plate of noodles on the table, surprising Bell with its large size. Bell. It's very big, surprised, and how much does this cost, looking at the smaller one stuck to a wall. Bell. Valis. Swallowing hard. Bell now got scared when the dwarf this time put a giant roasted fish. My mom. You're still young, you must eat a lot, smiling. Bell looked at the menu again looking for the price of what Mia had just given him. Bell. Daily special. Grilled giant fish 1600 Valis, blank. Mamma Mia. Sir said you'd be a good customer tonight, looking at Bell. Bell. Looking at Sir. Sir. I'll get a good pay today, smiling. Bell. Haha, laughing sarcastically, at least it looks good, looking at the food. Bell sighed before starting to eat. Shade. Looks delicious, whispering. Bell was exalted when Shade appeared beside him, or well, more like a formless shadow. Shade knew it would be very strange to appear like that out of nowhere in the middle of the bar, so she left Bell in a tiny form and transformed into a small bowl of shadows. Bell. Shade, what are you doing? Whispering nervously. Shade. Isn't that obvious? I'm going to eat. Speaking in a low voice. The little ball took human form but in miniature. Bell looked with a drop on his head at Shade with his physical form but in miniature and with a chibi face. Bell. I'll call you Chibi, expressionless. Chibi Shade. Hey. Annoyed, I'll ignore you while I eat. Bell let out a chuckle as she heard Shade's high-pitched voice embarrassing her even more. Chibi looked at him even more annoyed and went to the grilled fish, made some shadow cutlery, and began to eat without looking at him. Bell laughed lightly and continued eating his spaghetti with a face that reflected how delicious it was. Sir. Is it delicious? Smiling. Bell and Shade almost drowned due to Sir's sudden appearance. Bell responded nervously, signaling to Shade, who hid. Sir looking at the fish. Bell. What's wrong? Smiling nervously. Sir. I swear I saw something on the table, looking at the grilled fish. Bell. You must have gotten confused, haha, smiling nervously. Oh, why don't you tell me more about this place, Sir San? Smiling. Sir Of course, smiling. Sir and Bell began to chat quietly, although Bell felt a chill run down his spine and realized that several people were looking at him. All those looks belonged to the waitresses who worked here with Sir who seemed to be watching him. Bell decided to ignore that for now and continued eating while listening to Sir talk, although they were both taken out of their conversation when a brown-haired catwoman screamed. The reserves have arrived. Bell turned his gaze like many others and looked in surprise at the family that had just entered. Look, that's it. Yes, the family kills giants. Familia Loki, Myrene Sesfin Dame Braver. Those are Nine Hel and Elgrim. The Amazon sisters Crusher and Jormungand. Bell look. Sword Princess. She is beautiful. Yes, Bell thought exactly the same thing when a beautiful golden-haired girl with her typical expressionless face appeared in his sight. Aiz had noticed Bell's gaze, ignoring the room like all the others if it weren't for the fact that she saw familiar white hair. Aiz turned his gaze towards Bell, but Bell was no longer there. Aiz was confused but downplayed it. On the other side of the bar, Bell was eating with his head down, preventing even a little of himself from being seen. He was embarrassed. I almost caught him. What would have happened if she noticed him staring? Would she feel disgust? Pity? Ignore him? Bell didn't know, and he didn't want to know at the moment. Sir. It's the Loki family, looking, their goddess likes to frequent this place, smiling. Bell. Do you like to visit him? Thoughtfully, then I could see him more often, smiling. Bell was taken out of his thoughts by Sir and they started talking again. Of course Bell looked at Aiz from time to time. It wasn't long before a completely drunk gray-haired werewolf opened his mouth. Hey Aiz. Drunk, tell that story, fun. Aiz history. Looking at him. Yeah, you know, the one with the tomato boy. Funny. Bell. Boy tomato. Fiona. What are you talking about? Curious. Due to the Minotaur incident, laughing, one managed to make it to floor 5 and cornered a level 1 weakling in a dead end hahaha. Funny, and then Aiz saved him by cutting the Minotaur in half, but got him all covered in blood hahaha. He looked like a tomato, a small and weak tomato, laughing, and instead of thanking Aiz for saving his life he ran away from it, drinking his beer while laughing. Some other gossips who were listening to Bet also started laughing imagining the scene. Bell lowered his head slightly, knowing that I was talking about him. Riveria. Enough, Bet, would be, the Minotaur incident was our fault, if we hadn't let them go none of this would have happened, looking hard at Bet. Bet? What's wrong with saying trash is trash? What do you think? Looking at her, I mean, hypothetically speaking, who would you choose, me? Or that idiot tomato? Staring at her. Finn. Bet, I think you're already very drunk, aren't you? smiling. "That. I'm talking to you, Aiz." Pointing at her, "If that guy asked you out, would you say yes?" Shaking her head, "Right. Someone so cowardly and weak has the right to be by your side. You yourself would never allow that. A coward is no match for you, not for Aiz Waldstein." 5. The sound of a chair falling was heard, and Aiz could see how a person ran out of the bar, a white hair came to his eyes. On impulse, Aiz and Sir left the premises to see where Bell had gone, but he had already disappeared. "Aiz." It was him, whispering. "Sir Bell-san," worried. In the place a red-haired goddess was watching the whole scene and her eyes curved upwards as she gave a smile. "Loki. He has the guts to leave me as bar without paying, he, and his eyes, they are no longer those of that scared little one who would say that a few words would make him change in such a way, watching Bet being gagged by his family members. Bell-cranel, I'm interested in you, yes you have potential, and my curiosity," opening his eyes slightly, "Bell-cranel, member of the Loki family, I like the way it sounds," smiling. "Mom. I'm not paying," sighing, "looks like we'll have to pay him a visit so he can learn, don't you think girls?" Looking at her waitresses. "Anya. Nobody leaves without paying. Naya, look at my mom." Lunwer. "I guess we'll have to make him come back and pay, right?" Looking at the others. Ryu just nodded silently at the others' words. "At least until Sir stopped them." "Sir. Wait, we can't do that," looking at them worriedly. Chloe. "Why not? And why do you care about him? You've only known him for 2 hours." Curious. "Sir. He is special, please, do it for me," making a cute face, "just give him until tomorrow, I assure you that tomorrow he will come and pay," looking at my mom. Ryu stared at Sir before standing next to her and then looking at Mamma Mia, if Sir asked him to do it for her, then he would do it. Anya finished sighing and shrugged her shoulders casually before taking his side. Chloe and Lunwer looked at each other and shrugged their shoulders. Mommy sighed when she saw the girls next to Sir and spoke. "My mom. Fine, but if he doesn't come back tomorrow to pay his punishment, it will be worse," going to the kitchen. Sir was about to thank you, my mom, if it weren't for a voice interrupting her. Loki. Cough cough, getting attention, "It won't be necessary, mine," smiling. Leah stopped just one step away from entering the kitchen and looked at Loki curiously. Leah. "Loki, what do you mean?" Staring at her. Loki. "I'll pay your debt," smiling. Sir. Surprised. Loki. "It will be like an apology from me for that Wolf's dirty mouth," smiling. Mia looked at Loki fixedly and shrugged his shoulders as if she didn't care and left. Loki still kept his smile and paid for Bell's food before returning to the table with his family and seeing how Bet was now tied to the ceiling, thanks to Riveria. Loki. Phew, whistling, "Did you tie him up like that, you're Riveria?" Smiling. Riveria. "So what?" Raising an eyebrow. Loki. "I didn't know you practiced bondage," smiling. Riveria. "Say that one more time and you'll end up tied up naked and hanging from the fountain in front of the guild," terrifying look. Loki. "Understood," walking away. Loki sat with the others and watched as everyone interacted with a smile on his face, soon there would be a new member in his family. And Loki family. Braiaya. That sound, the sound of flesh being cut and the screams of the monsters, was the only thing that could be heard on the 4th floor of the dungeon, besides the sound of the magic stones falling to the ground. On that floor there were hundreds and hundreds of monsters fighting in a fight to the death. Right in the center was a white-haired man with red eyes, waving a black scythe bigger than the one he was killing monsters left and right, a total massacre. He didn't have his characteristic smile and kind look, he had a serious face that despite his rabid appearance imposed respect, and his look was anything but kind, red eyes full of anger towards himself. Anger that he was releasing against the monsters. The words of that Wolf had hit him hard, it was true, he was weak, very weak, if he wanted to be by his side, he had to be at his level, at the height of his golden longing. The monsters could do nothing against Bell's rapid slashes, it seemed that with every second that passed Bell attacked more, faster, more ferocious, stronger. Some adventurers were passing by nearby who were quietly looking for monsters to kill. They were greatly surprised when, after a long search, they finally found monsters, and not just monsters, but hundreds of them, hundreds of monsters that died as quickly as the dungeon spawned them. The adventurers couldn't be more surprised, the dungeon never generated such a quantity of monsters, much less in one place, just to kill an adventurer, although more than that it seemed that the dungeon was giving an offering to Bell, so that he would get out of there as quickly as possible, due to the massacre that Bell was causing. The bodies fell as Bell swung his large scythe, the adventurers couldn't be more surprised to see a weak-looking child commit such a massacre. At the Twilight Mansion, home of the Loki family, after a long night at the Fertility Hostess bar, everyone had finally returned to go and sleep, although the senior executives were still awake doing some paperwork for the expedition they had just returned from. The high elf with hair was walking towards Loki's office room to give him some papers and finally go to sleep. Anything was expected from Loki, from his typical jokes and innuendos to him slacking off or sleeping on his desk. She really never expected to find Loki sitting at his desk reading some papers with great concentration. There were several piles of papers there. Riveria was confused to see that Loki wasn't supposed to have paperwork, at least not now. Riveria. Loki. Confused, what are you doing? Raising an eyebrow. Loki. Looking at her, oh. Riveria, smiling, I'm checking, looking back at the paperwork. Before Riveria could ask what she was checking, someone beat her to the punch. May I ask what you are reviewing? Both women turned their gaze towards a blonde-haired Palom who had a smile on his face while carrying a mountain of papers that he was about to give to Loki. Both could see the curiosity in his eyes when he saw Loki searching for something among a pile of papers. Loki. Searching through the papers, I'm reviewing basic information that the guild gave me about the adventurers who have recently registered with the guild, looking at Finn. Finn? Why? Confused. Loki. Let's just say I found someone interesting, looking at a paper, finally, here it is, grabbing the paper. Both Finn and Riveria raised their eyebrows in confusion and stood on either side of Loki, looking at the paper. Riveria. Bellcranel, 14 years old, human, white hair and red eyes, no family. Curious. Finn. Thoughtful, tell me Loki, why so much interest in him? Looking at her. Loki. I was simply fortunate enough to talk to him a little, smiling. He has great potential to tap into. Yes, I want him in the family. He'll be the newest member of the family. Loki, looking at them both. Riveria. New member? A little surprised, what did you see in him that made you decide to accept him into the family so easily? Looking at Loki, it would be. Loki. I told you, he has great potential, smiling. Finn and Riveria looked at Loki suspiciously, they knew she had more reasons, but she wasn't going to say them, at least not for now. Finn. Well, how do you plan to invite him to the family? Looking at her. Riveria. We can write him a letter to request his presence, and then Loki can offer to make him part of the family, and in the process we'll get to know him a little, looking at Finn. Finn. Yes, that's a good idea. Loki. No, would be. Finn. Riveria. Looking at Loki. Loki. I have a better plan. Evil smile. Finn and Riveria sighed at Loki's stupid smile and felt sorry for the boy who was about to fall for Loki's prank. It was now approximately 4 in the morning. In the dungeon you could see a floor full of magic stones scattered all over the floor. There were also some bodies of dead monsters that hadn't disappeared. The dungeon was still spawning monsters, but at a slower rate than before. Not only had Bell grown tired, the dungeon also grew tired of spawning so many of its children in one place, only for them all to be killed with ease. There in the center of the room was Bell breathing heavily. He had in his hands 2 shadow knives. He didn't have enough mom to make his big side. Bell looked extremely tired. He had been fighting non-stop all night and all this morning. You're lucky he was awake. Although that was mostly due to what Shade woke him up every time he seemed to be about to fall asleep from exhaustion or pain. To say that Shade was upset was an understatement. She kept yelling at Bell about how stupid he was and how easy it was to provoke him. Despite the yelling, Bell thanked Shade for it. Those yells helped him stay awake. But he had been fighting for hours, he was already very tired, not even Shade's screams made him react. And the worst part is that there are still a few more monsters in the making. Bell held his 2 shadow knives as tightly as he could and prepared to attack. The kobold launched itself to attack him with fury, but Bell was easily able to cut its neck with a quick movement, although he could not block the bite of a Conneld that had hidden behind the one he killed. The Conneld bit his right arm, squeezing it tightly. Bell gritted his teeth and punched him in the face. The kobold let go of Bell's arm and realized he had a black knife in his chest. The other monsters approached ready to finish off the tired Bell, who no longer had the strength to defend himself. Bell. Damn. Slash. Just as a monster was about to kill Bell, a quick slash cut off his head. Bell opened his eyes and there he saw her for the second time, golden hair that seemed to dance with the wind moving before his eyes, a silver sword stained with the blood of monsters, and the imposing figure that only made that woman look more unattainable than she already seemed. And for the second time he heard those words again. Are you okay? 5. Fatigue caught up with Bell and he finally fainted. Aiz stood still with her hand extended towards Bell, like the time she saved him from the Minotaur. Aiz. He fainted. Am I scary? Bell. Frowning. What happened? Standing up. Juju, you're awake. Bell. Surprised. Loki. Hello little rabbit, to the smile. Bell. Loki-sama, surprised. Loki. The same, puffing out his chest with pride. Bell. What am I doing here, looking around? It was right there that Bell realized he was in a large but empty infirmary, he was the only one there. Bell. The last thing I remember is that, remembering a golden head of hair, golden hair. Loki. That's right, smiling, I suspected that you might be in the dungeon after the harsh words of Artsundir Wolf, so I sent my dear Aiz Tant to save you, making an epic pose. Bell. I see, but why? Looking at Loki. Loki. You saved my life, didn't you? It's only fair that I return the favor. Smiling, now we're even. Bell. I see, thanks for the help Loki-sama, bowing. Loki. I have a proposal for you, Bell, smile. Bell. A proposal? Curious. Loki. Yes. You'll be joining the Loki family. Pointing at him. Bell. Surprised. Loki. Yes, oh rather, you are now part of the Loki family, proud smile. Loki pointed at his back, and Bell looked in surprise as on his back, he had the head of a jester with some strange symbols and numbers, it was a falna, something that a god gave you when you joined the family and allowed you to become stronger. Bell. Finally a family. Smiling happily. Loki. I'm glad you like it, but we haven't finished talking yet, it would be, you know, it was very tiring waking up my Aiz Tant at 4 in the morning, so she could go find you and save you, she should be sleeping at that moment, looking at him. Loki's eyelids opened revealing a pair of red eyes that stared at Bell very intently. Bell. I am sorry, lowering his head. Loki. Not only that, we also spent healing potions on you, gave you shelter and made you part of the family, we went to a lot of trouble for you, you know. Looking at him. At that moment Bell knew he had to make up for all the trouble Loki had gone to, he owed it, the only thing he owed to his family was to heal him and send someone of high prestige to help him, he definitely had to make up for it. Bell didn't even realize that this was Loki's plan. Bell. I promise I'll pay and compensate for all the trouble Loki-sama went to with me. Bowing. Loki smiled, he had won what he wanted. Loki. It's good that you take responsibility, Bell Tan, I went to a lot of trouble with you, so you better be a good son and treat me with the respect I deserve and give me your loyalty, puffing out his chest with pride. Bell. I promise to give Loki-sama the respect she deserves and I won't let her down. I'll make myself strong enough to be worthy of being in this family. With determination. Loki smiled, finally, it seemed that she had gotten a son who would finally treat her with respect. Just then the infirmary door opened revealing a jade-haired high elf who looked at Bell in slight surprise. Riveria. It seems you've woken up. Tell me, hasn't Loki done anything to you during this time? Looking at Loki suspiciously. Bell. No, Loki-sama and I were just talking, looking at Riveria. Riveria. Sama. Someone in the family has been addressing her that way for a while now. Bell. Huh. Why? Isn't she supposed to be the patron goddess of the family? Confused. Riveria. He is, but Loki is very childish and playful, and he doesn't have the respect of almost anyone, looking at Loki. Loki ugh. Low blow, discouraged. Bell. Loki-sama. Why don't they treat her with respect? Looking at Riveria, she may have flaws, but she's still a goddess, we must respect the gods, without them we wouldn't be able to become strong, rubbing Loki's back, don't worry Loki-sama, smiling, even if your family doesn't respect you, I'll be here to give you the respect that a goddess like you deserves, bowing his head slightly. Riveria. Surprised. Loki. Oh, Bell Tan. Hugging him, you do treat me like a god, and you respect me, yes, without a doubt you are now my favorite son. Loki smiles. Riveria. So that was your plan, sighing, Bell, I think you should get to know Loki better first before. Riveria couldn't even continue speaking when Loki climbed onto Bell's back as if riding a pony and pointed at the infirmary door. Loki. Run Bell. Bell hi. Not a second later Bell was already running towards the infirmary door, leaving Riveria there who just stared at the open infirmary door in silence. Riveria. A member who has total respect and loyalty to Loki, that's bad. Riveria went to Finn's office worried about the safety of all the girls in the family because of Loki, who now had an adventurer who followed his orders. Loki. And this is your room, pointing to a sturdy wooden door. Bell. My room. Looking at the sturdy door. Loki. Come in, letting Bell open the door. Bell took the doorknob and turned it with excitement of having his own room. I was not disappointed to see a large room with a bed attached to the left side, a large closet, a window that gave a view of Arario and a beautiful sunny day, there was a mirror there, and surprisingly, it had a bathroom and its own shower. Bell was surprised by all this and wondered if all rooms would have this, little did Bell know that Loki had given him a special room just for him, there were only 3 people with rooms like that, Finn, Aiz and now him. Bell looked like a little boy who received a cool gift. Loki had a proud smile. He had been showing Bell the mansion fireplace and avoiding the other members as best they could. When Bell asked why, Loki replied that it was his job to introduce him to the family and that until then they would keep it a secret. Bell accepted his goddess's orders calmly, trusting that she would one day introduce him to the family. Elsewhere, Finn was massaging his temple after hearing Riveria's words. Bell followed Loki's orders out of respect for her, thinking that he also owed her a lot for everything Loki had supposedly done for him. Finn. That will be a problem, sighing, well, just give it a few days. Sooner or later Bell will stop having that respect for her after living with her, and we won't have to worry about Loki's pranks anymore, looking at Riveria. Riveria. Yes, but that will take at least several days, and before Bell loses his respect, he will follow his orders without hesitation, and… Finn. Well, take care of them, shoulders shrug. Riveria, eh? Finn. Yes, you know, keep an eye on them, make sure that Loki doesn't abuse the respect that Bell has for him, and whenever he does something, correct him and show him that he's wrong, but only if it's something really serious, like stealing, or going and spying on the girls while they shower, you know that Loki loves to do that. Riveria. Thoughtful, but I still have paperwork to do. Finn. Don't worry, I'll take care of your part, smiling, just make sure you take care of them, and that Loki doesn't do anything stupid, returning to his paperwork. Riveria sighed knowing she had no choice anymore. Riveria understood. It was already night. After a long day full of surprises, Loki had finally finished explaining to Bell everything she needed and what was important according to her. Now Bell was in his room lying on his bed with peace of mind and a smile on his face. He had finally gotten a family. Bell was smiling as he lay down on his soft, comfortable bed. He felt like he was on cloud 9. Everything he had been through so far had been worth it. Man, they've already forgotten me. Bell opened his eyes in surprise and abruptly got out of bed. Bell? Shade. Surprised. Shade. Well yes, who else? Yawning, I finally woke up. Bell. Why were you asleep? Curious. Shade. Due to the sudden increase in power, seemingly lying next to him. L.A. Surprised. Shade. More than 5 years and you still haven't gotten used to my sudden appearances, faking pain, I feel like you don't know me. Bell, looking at him. Bell. Sorry, you keep surprising me how you appear out of nowhere, scratching his cheek. Shade crossing arms. Bell. Wait, you said a sudden power surge just now, didn't you? What do you mean? Confused. Shade. Oh, that's right, you see, remember in the afternoon when you found out that Loki gave you his Falna? Looking at him. Bell hi. Shade. Well, the state that Falna gave us made me better. Shade suddenly jumped up from the bed with excitement and stood in front of Bell with a hint of pride. Shade. I present to you the new Shade 2.0, now you will no longer have problems when using the shadows, somehow having a Falna greatly improved our connection, and your purity no longer interferes with my evil, cat smile, too. Bell blushed when Shade threw herself back onto the bed, but now on top of him, resting her breasts on him, which he could feel were bigger, Shade was too, but the difference was barely noticeable. Shade. What do you say? I've grown a lot, don't you think? Flirtatious. Bell Shade, don't do that kind of thing, looking away. Shade laughed a little and then looked at Bell mischievously. Shade. Why? Isn't this body as good as that golden-haired girl's? Hat-like grin. L.A. Blushing. Shade. Although I have to admit, that golden-haired girl did have good features, I still need a little bit for my breasts to be bigger than hers, touching her breasts. Bell. Shade, stop doing that. Looking away. Shade. Now, do you want to feel them, Bell? I assure you that the sensation is the best you'll ever feel. If you behave well, Shade-sama might let you use them as a pillow, flirty. Bell Shade. Blushing. Shade Juju. It had already dawned, after a long night where Shade tried again to get Bell to touch her inappropriately, unfortunately like many other times he failed, it was surprising how pure Bell could be sometimes, he never gave in to her charms, and that she had even used a bunny suit to try to make him give in once. The sound of falling water echoed in the room as Bell turned on the tub to take a nice, refreshing, warm bath. Everything was fine, except he could feel Shade's flirtatious eyes watching him as he undressed. L.S. Shade, could you stop staring at me, sweating a little? Shade. Why? I've seen you naked before, remember we share a view, playing it down. Bell. And for me it's still as awkward as the first time, sighing. Shade. By the way, Mr. Rabbit has a tremendous carrot, raising and lowering his eyebrows several times. Bell Shade. Closing the bathtub door. Shade. We still share a view, you know. You won't be able to look up for long. Sooner or later you look down and I'll see that carrot bunny, flirty. L. Shade. From the other side of the door. Shade Fufu. Bell was already dressed and well bathed, he had his usual clothes and shade was already hidden inside him. Bell headed towards his goddess's office because she asked him to yesterday. With Loki. Loki was in his office, surprisingly he wasn't asleep or drunk, he was looking at a status sheet. Loki. Interesting, I certainly wasn't wrong in choosing you, smiling through gritted teeth. Status bellcranel. Adventurer level 1. Family Loki. Statistics. Strength 0000I. Resistance 0000I. Skill 0000I. Agility 0000I. Magic 0000I. Total 00000. Universal power 0000. Magic. Abilities. Protected from Shadows ability that gives the bearer mastery of shadows thanks to their connection to the spirit of the shadow's shade. Lyra's freeze equals increases growth rate while her feelings persist. The intensity of the effects is related to the intensity of the feelings. As a side effect, it makes you immune to charms, hidden. Acquired skills. Loki sin duda interessante. Ok. Loki. Pass, saving Bell's status. Just at that moment the door opened revealing Bell, who bowed a little in respect and walked calmly up to his goddess. Loki. Bell Tan, it's good that you're here early, you already know the guild, right? Looking at him. Bell hi, nodding. Loki. Fine, then go and register as part of the Loki family and then do whatever you want, smiling, but come back before dinner to present yourself in the Great Hall with everyone, looking at him. Bell hi. With your permission, leaving. Loki. Should I tell him I know about his connection to the shadow spirit? Nah, then, taking out a bottle of alcohol. After a short walk, Bell had gone towards the guild, but not before greeting kindly the guards who were guarding the entrance to the Loki family and who had been informed about Bell. Now Bell was in the guild looking for a movie to finally complete his registration. Ina. Be Bell kun. Curious. Bell turned to look at Ines and smiled happily. Bell. I already found a family, smiling. Ina. That's good. Smiling, what family did you join? Curious. Bell Loki family, smiling. Ina. Oh I see, Loki family Loki family. Surprised. Ina realized that everyone in the guild was staring at her for her sudden scream and she embarrassedly took Bell to drag him to a more private room to complete her registration. 4 hours. 4 hours locked in a room strictly instructed by Ina, who said that since he already had a family now he should know more about the dungeon, and for now she had shown him up to the 5th floor, she had literally taught him everything there was to know about the 5th floor, it was a traumatic experience for Bell. Bell. It's a monster, trembling. Shade. I thought my shadows were scary, but that half-elf is even scarier. That's not a woman, she's the devil, trembling. Finally after that long torture Bell remembered something very important. Bell. Now that I remember the fertility hostess didn't pay for the bar meal. Holding her head, damn, I completely forgot. Bell started walking towards the bar the fertility hostess according to him to pay. When he arrived he was greeted by a brown-haired catgirl who looked at him slightly surprised to see him return to the bar, but she welcomed him well and let him in. Bell walked through the bar sweating a little from the looks he was getting from all the waitresses in the place, all except one who appreciated not having noticed his innocence. Bella Sir-san, calling her. Sir reacted to his voice and looked at him with a smile on her face, as if she knew he was coming. Sir. Hello Bell-san, smiling, are you coming to pay? Smiling. Bell. Hi, and also to apologize, the way I ran away was disrespectful, towards you, and also towards you my mom. Behind Sir was Mamma Mia, arms crossed, raising an eyebrow in curiosity as she listened to Bell's words. Mamma Mia. Despite your actions, you no longer need to pay, don't worry, someone else paid your part. Bell. Huh? Who? Confused. Mamma Mia. Goddess Loki, looking at him. Bell Loki-sama. Surprised. Mia. Sama. That's weird to hear, laughing a little. Sir. I told you he would come and turn it off, smiling. Knowing that his goddess had paid for his disaster only made the respect he had for her increase, in a certain mansion a blonde Palom and a high elf sweated a little. Bell. I see, Loki-sama paid my part, but I still wanted to apologize for the way I left, bowing slightly. Sir. Apology accepted, smiling. Mamma Mia. Just make sure you don't do that again and don't come back to eat and spend a lot of money, smiling. Bell hi. The things already arranged, Bell realized that it was getting late and he should go to the Twilight Mansion so that his goddess could introduce him to his family. He said goodbye to Sir and went to the Twilight Mansion happy. I already told you Loki, you can't take advantage of Bell. Loki meh. Ignoring him. Riveria sighed after saying those words to Loki for the 8th time that day. Loki. Leave that topic alone, we're almost ready for dinner, so why don't we go to the Great Hall and wait for our new member to introduce him, walking. Riveria. Sighing, don't think I'll forget about the Loki thing, walking behind her. Loki, hi mom, mockingly. Riveria. Who are you calling mom? Silly goddess, hitting her on the head with her cane. After Riveria scolded Loki for the 9th time that day, both of them headed to the dining room, while a white-haired man was just entering the Twilight Mansion. Curiously, a golden-haired girl was passing by, deep in her thoughts. Aiz. Am I scary? Confused. Mini Aiz. No, not so much. Aiz. And why am I running away? Depressive aura. Mini Aiz didn't say anything, rather, she didn't know what to say to him, nor did she know why Bell had run away from them earlier. They had saved his life, it just didn't make sense then. Mini Aiz, inconsiderate bunny, pouting, next time you see him hug him and don't let him go. Not until he tells you his name and you introduce yourselves, determined. Aiz remained silent. Hugging him? Wasn't that a bit of an exaggeration? Mini Aiz's exaggerated denial told him that she would not stop insisting, and he accepted. In any case, there was nothing wrong with hugging him, or so he thought. Aiz's gaze turned into a determined one, scorching the rabbit-like boy. And she wouldn't let him go until they talked. Surprisingly, it seemed that fate was on her side, as she accidentally collided with a red-eyed white-haired man who was walking through the halls of the Twilight Mansion. Aiz. I'm sorry, expressionless. Aiz looked at the person she bumped into, and her face changed to a slightly more surprised one when she recognized him. Aiz. You, surprised. Aiz could notice how Bell flexed his muscles as he prepared to run away. Mini Aiz. Quick catch it. Bell. Huh. In shock, activating emergency system, escape from Elmira. Bell was about to run away like a rabbit, just like when he saw her for the first time, or that was the plan, before some soft but powerful arms immobilized him. Bell trying to escape. Aiz Chibi just watched their futile attempts to escape, while Bell's face quickly blushed. Mini Aiz. How adorable, squealing. Aiz agreed, it was adorable. After a few seconds of trying to escape, Bell finally stopped making a fool of himself, hoping to regain some of his dignity. They were almost the same height, Aiz being a little taller than him but barely noticeable. If you looked at it from another perspective, it was like seeing a little girl carrying her adorable pet, more specifically her bunny. Eliedo, nervous, see, could you let me go? Shy. The shy Bell's question was easily answered with a big resounding. Aiz. No, expressionless. When Bell heard Aiz's demanding voice, he couldn't help but shudder and resigned himself to Aiz doing whatever he wanted without putting up a fight. He expected almost anything. Less a simple question. Aiz. What's your name? Looking at him. L.A. Surprised. Aiz. What's your name? Curious. Bell remained silent for a few seconds, processing Aiz's question. Due to Bell's silence, Aiz thought that he had not understood the question and thought about asking his name again, but before asking his name again, his answer came with Loki's animated shout. Loki. Bell Tan. There you are, smiling, oh. Looking at the scene. Riveria, who was behind Loki making sure he didn't do anything stupid, also opened her eyes in surprise, seeing her adopted daughter, who almost never showed any emotion, carefully hugging the rabbit-like boy who was clearly nervous. Aiz. Bell, that's your name. A small sparkle appeared in Aiz's eyes, happy to have discovered her name. Loki. I see you've already met our new member Aiz Tan, smiling, I'll introduce them properly. Aiz, he is bellcranel, Bell, she is Aiz Waldstein, smiling. Aiz. Nice to meet you, Bell, looking at him. Bell. Pleasure, Miss Waldstein, nervous. Riveria. Hey Aiz, Bell seems a little uncomfortable, how about you let him go so you can talk better, looking at Aiz. Aiz. I'm sorry, lowering his head a little. Again, Loki and Riveria were surprised. It was not normal to see Aiz apologize to someone, since she generally did not care much about making a good impression. She was not rude, she simply was not very social either, so seeing her apologize to someone with a sorry face was something new. Bell. Don't worry, Miss Waldstein, smiling. Hey, I'm back, Kami-sama, bowing slightly to Loki. Loki looked at Bell with a proud smile, ignoring Riveria's sigh, who was worried about how Loki could take advantage of Bell's innocence to get him to help her with his typical jokes. Bell. I already registered in the guild, Loki-sama, looking at Loki. Loki. Okay, now all that's left is to introduce you to the family, smiling. Bell and Loki began to talk calmly, completely forgetting about a certain golden-haired girl and a certain jade-haired girl. Riveria stayed away from their conversation so that Loki wouldn't say anything stupid, but then she focused her attention on Aiz when she felt a great cold next to her. Riveria was slightly exasperated when she saw Aiz looking more expressionless than usual at Loki and Bell's conversation while emanating a cold and silent aura, as if she were annoyed. Riveria was surprised again. What was happening to Aiz? She had never shown so many emotions at once. It may sound a little awkward, but for Riveria and for many others, Aiz was as expressive as a rock. Riveria placed her hand on Aiz's shoulder, bringing her out of her state of silent anger. Riveria. I don't know if I'm right, but if I am, this could be a great opportunity for her to be more open. Looking at Aiz, don't you think Loki is very close to Bell? Aiz. Yes, it's very close to him. Riveria. Besides, you were talking to him, weren't you? Don't you think it's rude of me to steal Bell's attention out of nowhere? Why don't you go and get it back? Looking at Loki and Bell. Minnie Aiz. Listen to Aiz, she seems like a wise woman. Aiz. Riveria is wise. Minnie Aiz. That's why. Aiz looked at Bell thoughtfully. It was true, she was the one who had Bell's attention until Loki arrived and stole it. That was wrong. Aiz didn't know why, but it was wrong. She approached Bell decisively with the mission of regaining his attention, being observed by Riveria, who looked curiously at what was about to happen. Loki. And remember, if you ever see the werewolf, stay away. I don't want his fleas to stick to you. Bell. Huh. Can beastmen have fleas? Loki. It's just a way of saying that I don't want you to catch his bad mood. Now that I think about it, I don't know if beastmen can have fleas. Hey Bell, what if? Loki A. Bell A. Bell and Loki were perplexed when Loki was literally pushed by Aiz, who stood next to Bell, ignoring Loki's complaints. Bell Loki-sama. About to go and help her. Bell was about to help Loki, but Aiz pushed him more gently than Loki towards the wall while staring at him, making the poor rabbit nervous. Bell tried to go to the right, but was surprised when Aiz quickly slammed his hand on the wall, preventing him from passing. Then he tried to go left, but it was a bit of the same. In the end, Aiz had literally cornered Bell against the wall, preventing the poor rabbit from escaping. Loki and Riveria watched Aiz's actions perplexed. If it were anyone else they would think she wanted to kiss Bell, but it was Aiz. The scene was a little funny, but they decided to help Bell, who looked like a bag of nerves right now. Riveria. Aiz, I think you already have his attention, now just talk to him and… Hello. Fiona-san, don't scream please. Calm down Lefiya, don't get so nervous. Lefiya. But Tyne-san, nervous. Tyne. Oh look, that's Aiz, pointing to a golden head of hair. Fiona. Oh. That's right, hello Aiz. Happy. Lefiya. Aiz-san. Smiling. Just as the three approached Aiz to greet her, they froze when they saw Aiz standing there, with both arms extended, cornering a white-haired boy who looked like he could die of nerves at any second. Fiona and Tyan looked extremely surprised by what they were seeing, and the poor elf looked like she had had all her blood drained. She was in shock looking at the woman she admires, secretly loves. They're cornering a white-haired boy just like in her fantasies, only in her fantasies she was the one being cornered by Aiz, not a boy she had never seen in her life. Lefiya. Miss Aiz, trembling. Aiz turned her head curiously and looked at the three spectators. She was a little confused seeing each one's faces. Tiona and Tyan looked at her between surprised and happy, and Lefiya seemed about to die. Aiz. What's going on? Looking at the three of them. Bell. Help, whispering. Bell's blush didn't diminish, and he couldn't even speak from his nerves. Riveria sighed, also ignoring the Dakita Loki, and went with Aiz to move her a little away from Bell. Aiz was perplexed when she felt a hand pull her away from Bell. Aiz. Let me go, trying to move. Riveria sighed at Aiz's insistence, and when she was going to say something to him, she freed herself from his grip, and with the force he used, she lunged at Bell. Punch. Aiz collided with Bell and fell into his arms. By inertia they both hugged. A beautiful scene, easily a couple scene. That's what a lesbian elf thought before fainting. Now back to reality. Things were different. Aiz had not fallen into Bell's arms. In fact, Aiz's head hit Bell's chest hard, who, like the elf, fainted from the blow and fell into Aiz's arms, who was alarmed to see him fainted. Loki. Oh no. What have they done to kill my son? Dramatic. Aiz looked at Riveria worriedly without knowing what to do. Loki's words didn't help much. Riveria sighed and went to help Bell. Today had certainly been a hectic day. And? Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.